Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Tanzil Mirza. Today I'm going to show you routing in ReactJS. Uh, we'll see why we use routing, what routing is, how we use routing, how to implement routing in our React project. Uh, Actually, unlike PHP and other scripting languages, everything in React is a component, right? So, using routing, we can control what to render and where to render. You might have seen in PHP that you have your components in different files, and you can call those files in other files to make a complete page, maybe in your index.js or any other file. But in React, we control everything from one single component, that is our app component, or the file is app.js. So if we keep on calling our custom components into into our this app.js into one single component, obviously it will load the page with all the components. It will render each and everything you will mention over there. But let's suppose we have three different pages. We have to control three different pages like home page, about, and contact. Then how we going to implement this thing? No, because we have to create a separate page for everything. But in React we don't have separate pages, we have different components. So we have to redirect, we have to control somehow that what to render and where to render, because the content related to the home page should be displayed on the home page only, the contents related to the contact should be displayed on contact page only, and similarly the contents related to the about should be rendered on about page only. So how can we control, how can we manage all these things? So with React, we can control the flow of information, and for that we use a predefined tag. We use a predefined component, that is routing or route. So there are several routers. See guys, routing is a it's considerably a huge concept. We won't be able to see each and everything. We won't be able to discuss everything about routing in this single video. So I'm going to split this video into two parts, part one and part two. Part one, that is this part, will consist of some basic routing components in React, and part two, we'll be discussing some nested routing. Suppose you have routes and the routes. Okay. So first of all, let's start with the coding now. This is my Atom editor. Okay, the development server is up and running, and this is our page. All right. So first of all, let me close all these welcome tabs. We don't need these tabs. I'm closing everything now. Let me make some space, some room for coding. Okay guys, let me show you this packet.json. Okay, before starting with the code, I want to tell you something, that we have some dependencies over here in this packet.json. And before starting the code, I want to tell you that I've already installed these dependencies: bootstrap, React Bootstrap, and this React Strap. In case you don't know how to include these dependencies, how to install these dependencies, don't worry. I have a separate video on these for this concept. I'll mention the link in the description area. Don't worry about that. And so before routing, see, routing root tag is a predefined tag in React Router DOM. Okay, so before starting with the code, we'll have to install those packages. Okay, so I've opened a new terminal. Now I'll write these commands: npm install react router dom and save it. Okay, all right, but we cannot run this command over here. First of all, right now I'm in my home directory. Let me first navigate into my package, cd routing example. I'm using routing example right now. Let's clear everything from here. Okay, now we are ready to run the command. The command is npm install, and don't worry, I'll provide these commands in the description area. You can directly copy and paste these commands from there itself. React router dom minus s. Okay, now let's run this command. It will take some time depending upon your internet connection. It's not that heavy like other packages, but still it depends upon your internet connection. I'm using a slow network, it will take more time. Let's see, here we'll get here the dependency will be displayed. Just a couple of minutes, just be patient for a couple of minutes. All right, npm install. You can skip this part, it will take a while. We cannot start development no without including these dependencies. You have to have those dependencies, so it will take some time. You can skip this part, it's all absolutely fine. All right, so we've got this react router demo. All right, we have got this. Now we are ready to implement uh, this routing concept. All right, let's close this terminal. We don't need this. Our server is already up and running. One of our server is already up and running. Now we'll go back to our src and our index, sorry, this app.js, and inside app.js I'm removing everything from here. Okay, everything. We don't need these things. We'll write our custom code. So let's start with this. So the basic procedure is that I'll be creating two tabs. One is the home page and the other one will be about. In the next video, we'll add a contact page, and inside that we'll have two sub components, maybe personal contact or professional contact. And in that video we'll be using nested routing, so let that be. uh, Anyways, we'll start with the first part first. As usual, I'm going to create, because it's my way of keeping everything clean. I'm going to create components folder. Components, the spelling is correct. All right, and inside this component I'll have two custom components. One is home.js for home page, and other one I'm going to create is about.js for about page. Both of them are dumb components. That is alright, there's a spelling mistake. Rename this to about. Yeah, both of them are going to be dumb components or stateless components, so we don't need to extend or inherit component class. These are going to be simple arrow functions. All right, so first of all we'll import react from where, from react. Right, now const home, a simple arrow function, and here I'm going to return something. I'm going to return something, let's say a simple h2 tag, because h1 tag will be quite big. So no, and here write welcome to the home page. Okay, now the only thing we are left with is to export this component in default mode, and the name is home. Cool. Now the same thing I am going to write for this import about, import react from react const about. Now and then we will export in default mode this about. All right, and inside this function we'll return something. Let's say I'm going to return another h2 tag, and here I'll mention I am a front end developer. All right, now inside this app.js we'll have to call this home, and we'll call this about. And of course we need to import these two packages. Import home from dot slash. In the current folder there is a the current directory, sorry, there's a folder components. Inside components we have home, and let's copy and paste this line, and home. Similarly we have about here, and let it be about. See, it's working now. You can see both the text are displayed because we have called both the components home and about. Now, apparently, this is not the right way to do this. No, this particular heading should appear only on the home page, while this particular heading should only appear on the about page. All right. So, how can we implement? This is not PHP. This is not in normal HTML. We cannot use redirecting here. We cannot create different. We are not creating different pages actually here. We are calling everything into one simple single component, that is app, and we have to control the flow of the information somehow. So how can we implement this? This is uh, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I was talking about. So here we are going to implement routing. I'll tell you some important facts about routing. There are many. It's a very huge concept. There are several concepts in routing, but trust me guys, you don't want to get into the details, so I'll concentrate only the part which is absolutely necessary for you, just the basic concepts. You can go back to their official website. There is documentation over there. You can read it out. Anyways, so for routing, first of all, we'll have to import two important packages. Import browser router as router. Browser router is a quite big name, so I'm importing it as router. If you don't want to rename it as, I'm just using a alias over here. If you don't want to use this as router, just remove this thing. But just to create a shorter name, I'm importing this as router. And then the other one is route or root, depends upon your accent, depends upon your pronunciation. I'm not. Anyways, browser router and the router. The root, I don't know why they call this router. It always seems to be root or router. That's what I was taught in the school, but I don't know why they call this router. Anyways, browser router and router, and then we have this root from React router DOM. All right, now here we were having this home and about. We'll remove this. Okay, and the tag we are going to use is route. It's a self, sorry, not route. This route will be wrapped inside this router or this browser router. Inside this router it will be encapsulated, and inside this router we'll be having our tag root. It's a self-closing tag, one for home and the other one is for about. This is not the way you will mention these home and about. I just uh, for explanation purpose I showed you like this, but this is not how you route. So one is for home and the other one is for about. Okay, now let me tell you something. This route tag or the root tag, it accepts two properties. One is where and the other one is what. That means where is to be rendered and what is to be rendered. It only decides that on what URL which component will be rendered. Now, there is a misconception among the beginners who are new to React.js or new to routing. They think that route will actually redirect you to that page. No, it's not. It's not your hyperlink, man. It's not the hyperlink. It's not the navigation link. There's no hyper reference property attribute over here that will take you actually to that page. It just decides. It's only decides that where what is to be rendered where. So the first parameter is path. In this path you will have this thing slash home, and here what means the component will be home. Here you don't need to write it down as this home, just simply write the name of the component. You have already imported this. All right, this is how. Now another one for path about, and obviously the component will be, this time it will be about. Spelling mistake, about. All right, let's save the code. See here, now you can't see anything. Why? Because home will be displayed on home and about will be displayed on about. So and let me tell you one more thing here. By default it is local host address port number 3000. Okay, but you don't need to write this thing. It's understood that slash is, that there is a slash over here. In the end there is a slash, and home is already a slash, so home means after the slash. Okay, now if I, so as I told you, route only decides what is to be rendered and where is to be rendered. It will not, it will actually, it will not take you physically, it will not take you to that particular. You have to do it manually. When you type slash home, then it will show you home page, and when you type slash about, then it will display you the about page. I'm a front-end developer. By default it is not going to take you anywhere. Just keep this thing in your mind, just remember this thing always. Okay, so this is how it works. Even if you remove this slash from here, because it's the home page, you don't need to write it down every time. So this is your home page, and if you want to go to the about page, you'll have to write it here, about page. And of course you don't want to write every, this is not the way to do it, that you have to write uh, manually in your address bar that where you have to go. Obviously there will be some navigation links, some nav bars, or some list, or some items where on which you can click, and that will take you, using the hyper reference, that will take you to that actual page. We will see later. That's the reason I'm going to create a navigation bar as well. That's the reason I inside this packet.json, that's the reason I also imported this bootstrap and react strap. Okay, let's close this. So keep this thing in mind. Route only decides where, what to render and where to render. It will not take you anywhere. Okay, so one more thing you can see here, when you are accessing this page about thing, you are getting both the things, right? You're getting both the things. But when you press on only this home, you're getting home. But when you are trying to access this about page, you are getting both the things. Why you are getting both the things? Because this slash, when you are typing this path slash about, this slash about also it also contains this slash, which means you have to implement home also. That's the reason it is displaying both the things. If you want to, there's a simple solution. You can use exact here. Exact means home page will be displayed when the path is exactly like this. See, now the home page will be displayed on home, and on about, this will be the only text you will be uh, see this one about, this is the only text you will get, because now we have used exact here. So this is how routing is implemented. All right, so this is how we implement routing. Route does not it will not take you to that particular link. It will just it only decide what to render and where to render. All right, so now I'll create some navigation bar. Let's add some navigation bar, because this is not the way to do it. No, you'll have to write everything. It's kind of foolish, it's absolutely foolish to write manually into your address bar. So you need some navigation links. Let me add one more component. I'm going to create a new file, that is navbar.js. And let me tell you one thing, guys, you don't have to write the code manually. You already have these. Just go to their official website, strap React Strap components. Go to the components website. This the official website of React Strap. Here you will get components, and inside these components, they must be having some nav bar. See, and I want this. You can have different types of nav bars, but I want this one only. This thing. This looks good. I'll copy the code. Let's copy the code. The entire code I'm going to copy. I'll make some changes. Now we don't need this tab, just close this, keep it aside, and let me maximize this so that you can see what I'm going to edit. So I've implemented here. See these many things we have. It's a let's remove this. We don't need, it's going to be a dump component. We don't need to extend components and all. Just create it as a constant nav bar. It is going to be a dump component. That is a stateless dump component, means a stateless component that cannot manipulate with the states. It is going to be a normal arrow function. Remove everything, remove render also, and inside this return, this looks good. This looks good. Collapse, we don't need this collab also. And remove this toggle also. We don't need these things. Nav is okay. Nav item, let's remove. See, here you have this hyper reference. Here you can decide where to jump. This will take you to the actual link. All right. Let it be home. Another nav item. Let it be about. Oh, oops, my bad. Let it be about. And we don't need these things. Just remove. I'm removing everything from here. Remove this thing. Nav is okay, but collapse, we don't need this collab. Save this file. Export in default mode as navbar. Now, one important thing, we're going to call this, and we don't need router for that. Just call this simply navbar. Navbar self closing tag, and of course we'll have to import this thing. Import import uh, just a second. All right, let's import what we'll have to import this thing now. Navbar, import navbar from same thing, these components. It's component, and it's components or component, it's components. Okay, inside components, we have this thing, no, navbar. Okay, so uh, save this file, keep it aside. Unexpected token, what is this asking for? Navbar.js. We'll do it. Okay, there's an extra curly brace. Remove this. Save the file. Now let me check. Unexpected token. Ah, it's working now. Okay. Keep it here. See, it's responsive because it's under the hood. It's bootstrap only, so it is uh, quite responsive. All right. So done. See, now you can use these links. You don't have to write it down here. Still you can use these things, home and about, but it's foolish to write it down every URL. You cannot return. This time it's quite easy to write home and about, but in later stage, when you have nested routing or when you have more complex code, you cannot go through the complex URL writing it down over there, no. So you need to have these navbar, and inside navbar you can decide where to reference them to. Okay, inside hyper reference for home, I'm going to write slash, and for this about, I'm going to write this about. Now this will actually, this hyper reference, this nav link hyper reference will actually take you to that particular URL. It will do the job, the writing job for you. And then you have route tag here, which will decide what to render and where to render. All right, now let me check the code if it's working or not. See, on home page, you are already on the home page, you are getting welcome to the home page, and on about you are getting this, I'm a front-end developer. See how nicely it's working. See, this is how routing is implemented. So always keep this thing in mind, that root tag will not actually take you to the actual web address. For that you need to implement some other logic, maybe navigation link or any other list. Just it depends upon your implementation. So always remember, this root tag only decides where to render and what to render. Okay, you can have different tags also, or if you have other routing also, you can mention them here. And we are doing this because we have only one single app, this app.js, and we have to control everything from here. We don't have separate pages, multiple pages like in PHP, HTML, or other scripting languages. No, so this is how it is implemented. So I think this is enough for this we are done with part one, and in the part two we'll add one more option over here, home, about, and we'll add contact or some other component here, which will contain two sub components, maybe personal contact or professional contacts. All right, and in that project we'll see how to implement nested routing, because of course you can have component and sub component inside one master component. So we need to see how nested routing works. So this is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll be back with part two, and we'll be back with some new concepts. Thank you so much.